thanks for checking out my video. I'm Olivia, and today I'm going to be doing a grungy spring get ready with me. I'm planning on filming another video after this, so I'm going to try to keep the ball rolling today. I'm going to try to move through things because my dog demands my attention in between. I'm not wearing much right now. I just have my Supergoop SPF moisturizer. I'm using this under eye corrector from Sigma. And then I have the Too Faced Hangover Pillow Balm on my lips right now. And this one is in the shade Mango Kiss. If you notice my face looking splotchy, I'm literally allergic to my own dog. I did know that before we got him. I just don't care. It'll kind of clear up throughout the video, so not to worry. But yeah, I'll just jump right in. As I said, I'm going for kind of like a grungy spring look, so I picked out things from my everyday makeup drawer that kind of fit that theme. Before we get into those products though, I'll start with my base, obviously. I'm going to mix the Spotlight Illuminating Primer from Physicians Formula. I don't know if they make this anymore, this is super old. And I'm going to mix that with the Cover FX Natural Finish Foundation. I don't think Cover FX even exists anymore. This is obviously super old. But that's going to be where I start for the base. If you've watched like a handful of my last videos, you know I really don't love this foundation. I'm just really determined to use it up and finish it. So I'm pretty much mixing it with that primer on like a 50-50 ratio. So kind of like this, I feel like doing that does help a lot with the texture of this because it's really not my favorite. I don't know why I'm so determined to finish it when I have like 10 other foundations and skin tints that I actually like. But that's just how my brain's working. I just want to get through it. I'm really not concerned about covering up the splotchiness because like I said, it'll kind of calm itself down. So I'm just going to go in with concealer now, and I'm going to use the Cover FX concealer. So I'm looking a little ghostly right now. But before I go in with my bronzer and powders and everything, I'm going to use this cream blush from Melt, and it's in the shade Honey Thief. I don't want to go too overboard with the blush because I do have a powder one that I'm going to use, and I'm pretty sure that one is quite pigmented. So I'm just trying to get like a nice layer down, but it's not going to be like the main blush. Just kind of building a nice little layer of it. Although I feel like these cream blushes from Melt are actually pretty pigmented. Like I get pretty good payoff with these. Also, I mentioned in one of my last videos, I'm really trying to play around with the lighting to make everything actually look true to color without getting too washed out. So if you have any feedback or tips or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment. I won't be offended. I'm just gonna go with a little bit of powder under my eyes, and I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me. Usually I would do like my T-zone and forehead too, but because I'm using a foundation I don't love, I'm really trying not to dry it out too much. So I'm just gonna do right here. And that will probably be it. I can definitely feel my lip being the most irritated. And that is definitely from too many Atlas kisses. So for bronzer, I'm gonna use this Marc Jacobs bronzer in Tantastic. Wasn't Marc Jacobs supposed to like come back out with makeup this year? Or maybe they just like previewed it, but maybe haven't actually created the products. This bronzer was like a cult classic back in the day, so I am curious to see if they re-release some of their favorites like this. It is a really nice bronzer. All right, for blush, I feel like I have the perfect palette. I pulled the Fairy Blush palette from Likely Makeup. The blush colors in the palette are definitely more unique, so it kind of gives me that grungy spring vibe. The packaging alone, I feel like gives me kind of grungy spring. Like I love the flowers here, the naturey scene, but it's also kind of like muted in color. I don't know, it's very interesting, but I love the kind of whole aesthetic of this brand. I know she came out with an eyeshadow palette too that obviously I would love to try if it's still around and not discontinued. She also came out with lippies that look really beautiful, but I only have the 2 blush palettes. And this is one of them. These I would also put into like a grungy spring category because it's really bright, they're punchy colors, but they're also very different, especially for blush. I mean, these two you don't really see every day. So to me, the kind of edginess of being a more like editorial color kind of gives me that grungy feel. I'm not going to be using these two today. Maybe in another video that'd be really fun. But I'm thinking of a specific eye look, so I'm probably going to use the peach shade today. Although to be honest, I think the eye look I'm going to do is like kind of this color combo, so I could go in with the turquoise. Not today. Maybe if I have enough people actually like wanting to see me play with a scary ass blush, I'll do another look with this, but we're going to use the peach today. And the shade is called Sunstone. I'm just gonna go in lightly because I feel like this will be pretty pigmented, but maybe not. All right, so definitely not as scary as I thought. I did have to build it up a little bit, but it did build up pretty nicely, and I think it looks really cute. For highlight, I'm gonna go into the BH Cosmetics Spotlight palette, and I'm gonna be using the shade Vivid down here. Holy moly. It was a lot frostier than I thought it would be. Wow. I knew BH made like really good highlights, but I haven't used this palette in a long time, so I clearly forgot that this was the situation. Not mad at it. I'm just gonna go back in with my blush brush and kind of try and tone it down a little bit, but I don't really care, to be honest. I think it looks good. All right, damn. All right, so the base is done. I'm gonna do my brows off camera and then I'll come back to do the eye look. All right, my brows are done and my eyes are primed, so let's just get into the eye look. I'm gonna be using the Blend Bunny Sugar and Grunge palette. I know this was re-released as the Sugar and Spite, but obviously I have this one. And to me, this palette really gives like grungy spring, not only because of the color combinations, but also the variation in depth. So it offers the brighter pastel colors all the way down to like the deep grungier tones. There's definitely a lot you can do with this palette, and you can go in a lot of different directions too with the type of look you want to do. Obviously you can go like full grunge with this, you can go very light and soft. I'm gonna try and kind of mix the two moods together. So I think I'm gonna play with these greens here, and then I'll probably do a pop of peach with one of these two shades here. I'll probably go with the cut crease today, and then most likely one of these two shimmers. So that is the plan. We'll see if I actually end up doing that. I always stray away from the plan, but I feel like that combo will kind of give me what I'm wanting today. I'm gonna start with this middle green here, and this is the shade 1995. I'm gonna start by putting that in the crease. And I'm gonna be a little bit more generous with this shade. I feel like a structured look, like a cut crease, can kind of take away from the grungy aspect. Obviously it's still there if you're using those types of colors, but I do feel like something a little bit messier or blown out will bring that grunge aspect back. So I am still gonna go for the cut crease, but I will try to blow out this green a little bit more. And if the look calls for it, I might do a pretty bold lash. We shall see. I'm gonna take this on the lower lash line too. I'm gonna kind of leave that space really close to the lash line for the darker green shade. Honestly, I feel like that first shade blended out on its own pretty well. Like, it looks pretty good. That's Blend Bunny for you. But I still want to blend it out a little bit more with this lighter green called Ironic. I just feel like the brightness of the shade will make it look a little bit more interesting and dimensional, so I really want to use that shade even though I don't necessarily need to. This is just a really pretty shade. And again, I'm taking that up pretty high because I want it to be a little grungier and messier looking. I don't want it to be super contained and structured. And I'm really kind of focusing this brighter green too in the front under the brow, because I feel like if you can really see the different colors and tones of green, it adds a lot more like interest and dimension to the look. It just makes it a little bit more fun in my opinion. And I'm just doing the same blend on the lower lash line. I definitely want to deepen it up though. I want to bring some of the drama. So I'm going to go in with Garbage Band. I'm using that in the outer corner, but I will bring it into the crease since we're going to cut the crease. I do want a good amount of definition here. Doesn't matter too much if the lid looks messy since I'll be putting concealer over it. Yeah. I got a little carried away with the dark shade right here, so I'm going to go back in with a little bit of a 1995 and just blend it out and also bring that original green back. Hopefully this isn't looking too crazy to some people. It is, it's a lot. It's a lot of green. That's what I was going for though. Trust the process. And just taking Garage Band. Did I call it Garbage Band? I hope I didn't call it Garbage Band. I feel like in my brain I did that, but then like I knew it was Garage. Anyway, I'm taking Garage Band on the lower lash line. I'm actually going to take it on more of a detailed brush because I don't really want all the colors to mix together. I want it to go from like a nice gradient from the dark green to the light green. So I do want a little bit more precision here. All right, I'm going to do a little cutting of the crease. I'm going to try to do it quickly without dwelling too much on whether or not the shapes match because that's always where it goes downhill. So I'm just going to do it, and if they're not perfect, mind your business. All right, good enough. All right, let's do the fun part. I think I kind of want to use both of these shades, but I might actually start with Drew, and then I'll have that go into Skater Girl and then into Sweetheart, and then I'll use Sweetheart on like the inner corner as well. And then I'll figure out the shimmers. I kind of want to use one of these, but I might start with one of the deeper ones first. We'll see. I don't expect these shades to blend very well, but I'll probably layer over them with a shimmer anyway. But I feel like it will look cool to have them next to each other with the shimmer over top. I feel like that's looking really good. I'm getting really excited about this look. I think it's gonna turn out really well. All right, so I'm going in with the light pink. Oh wow, it's brighter than I expected. This one's called Skater Girl. I'm gonna take that on a smaller brush, and I might have to re-intensify that first deeper like burgundy shade. This is super pretty though. I really like this combo. Oops, I didn't want that. Get out of there. Before I go back in with Drew, I'm first gonna go in with Sweetheart, which was that really light peach. And I'll start at the inner corner, but I will bring it into the inner part of the lid. And just kind of mix it with Skater Girl. I was too lazy to get a more detailed brush, so as you probably saw, I was just kind of stamping it right on the edge there, just to keep that very distinct line. That's really pretty. Just bring that on the lower lash line a little bit too, just on the inner part. I'm gonna re-intensify Skater Girl before I re-intensify Drew, because I do think that bright pink was really pretty, so I don't want to lose that. I might have to use a glitter glue with these shimmers since I packed on a lot of matte shades. I do want the shimmers to stick to something, but I also don't want them to be super opaque. I kind of want you to be able to see the colors peeking through, so maybe I won't. Either way, I'm taking a little bit of Drew. I think I had too much Skater Girl on the brush still. Now I'm taking more Drew. And just to blend them together a bit better, I'm going to do a little bit more of Skater Girl. Hopefully it doesn't totally remove the Drew shade. Although I guess if I'm layering a shimmer over it, it doesn't really matter if it's looking a little harsh. Which it does, but I feel like it still looks really good. Before I do the shimmer, I want a little bit more of Ironic to show through. Just adding that back into the outer corner down here. I'm also going to go back in with 1995 just to bring that grungy green back too. This is such a fun look to me. I've been enjoying playing with this palette a lot. I feel like it's a very inspiring color story. And the shades have been just working really nicely. It's definitely a solid makeup day today. I really am torn with the shimmers. In theory, I could go from like the shimmery dark green to this shade to like both of these shades and just mimic what I have for the mattes. I think it'll be a little much though. I kind of just want to stick to like two. I think I'm going to start with Bubblegum, and I'm going to use that probably in the middle. And I'm leaning on Don't Speak or Grungy. I feel like I wouldn't mind intensifying this type of shade since I have that just a little smidge right there. But anyway, let me start with Bubblegum. And I shouldn't have done that. I put it right over the crease. It's fine. I opted not to do the glitter glue. I kind of do want it to be a little more sheer. So if it's not the punchiest of shimmers, that's fine. I kind of wish I didn't put it over the crease though. But now I have to match it on this side. On the plus side, it is sheer, so I feel like you could still see it. I might go back and re-intensify that cut crease though. I like that a lot. I think I will use Don't Speak, which is kind of that like darker pink, almost magenta shade. And I tried to be a little bit more precise with that than with the first shimmer. Went back in with a little bit of Bubblegum, just to soften the edge of that one. All right, I feel like I'm good with that. That's pretty much the look. No, it's not done yet. I think I will actually take some of this deep green shade called Grungy, and I'm gonna smudge some of that on my lower lash line with my pinky, and I'm gonna bring it a little farther down. Like I mentioned before, I feel like that element of kind of messiness is what can kind of bring the grunginess to a look. And for me, a fun way to do that is to get a little messy with a shimmer on the lower lash line. I feel like it looks really pretty. So I'm gonna do that. And I will blend this out again with the green mattes. But I'm just kind of putting the shade all over the lower lash. So I do want it to be messy, kind of like what I've done there. I just didn't want it to take away from the different greens we have, so I'm going to go back in with a little bit of Ironic, just like kind of underneath that. And again, I'll probably go in with the bigger lash, so I don't mind like really dragging the shadows out so the lash doesn't kind of cover up the whole look. It probably will anyway, but we'll try our best. Yeah, I think this will pretty much be the look. I'll probably try to redefine the crease a little bit with some of the dark greens, and then I'll find a lash and something in my waterline. I'll probably end up doing a boring neutral or nude lip. I feel like that'll be the safest option. We'll see what I can find in my drawers though, and then I'll be back to show you the final look. Are the lashes too much? You can be honest. Since I went with a safer lip combo, I thought, let's just give her with the lashes. Let's just go for it. So I went in with these very bold lashes. They do kind of cover up all my hard work, but I feel like the style is like piecey enough you can kind of see through. They are very like badass lashes though. Like I definitely don't hate this. It's just out of my comfort zone for like a leaving the house sort of situation, but I do think it looks really cool. These lashes are from Blend Bunny and they're in the style Saint. And it's just a pair from their Virtues line. I don't know if they still have the lashes or if they discontinued them. But I feel like of all the lashes they made, this was like the most toned down style. But anyway, this is going to be the finished look. I really am loving how this turned out. I don't always go with my initial plan, but I feel like today we really stayed on track, so that was a win. And yeah, the vibe today was supposed to be grungy spring, and I feel like I gave that. So I'm really happy with it. I think it turned out really cute. I'm loving the color combo. The shadow was really easy to work with. I feel like it was a really good overall makeup day. I didn't end up redefining the crease, honestly, because I forgot. But I don't think that one detail would really make or break the look. I think it still turned out how I wanted, and it looks really pretty. If you've seen like a handful of my videos now, you could probably almost guess the lip combo at this point. But I went in with the Anywhere Caffeine lip liner from Makeup Forever. And then the lipstick is the shade Hora from Melt, and it's just kind of this peachy nude matte shade. In the waterline, it's pretty subtle, so you might not have even noticed, but I use this peachy eye pencil. This is the Bright Eyes Eye Enhancing Eyeliner. This was definitely from like an Ipsy or BoxyCharm, so it's super old. The brand is Skin by Dimitri James. I don't know if that brand still exists anymore, but this is just a basic peach color. I also added some lash clusters on the lower lash line because I felt like I really needed to balance out the top. And for those, I just used this kind of pack of clusters. I got this from Amazon. It's just called the Mango Lash Clusters. So yeah, this is my grungy spring makeup look using the Sugar and Grunge palette by Blend Bunny. Let me know what you think of the look in the comments down below, and if you think I nailed the grungy spring aesthetic. I feel like I got there. I probably could have taken it a little bit farther, maybe with like a bolder, grungier lip. But again, this combo is definitely a little bit more in my comfort zone. And it's just a safe option. I feel like it complements pretty much any look, especially if you're going a lot more bold on the eyes. So it's just kind of a go-to. Maybe for the remainder of 2026, I'll try to push myself a little bit more and be a little more experimental with the lip combos. Or maybe I won't. But yeah, let me know what you think. I hope you liked the look, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for spending your time watching it and for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!